Hey guys, welcome back to the Royce Reader. Today's reading will be of an article entitled All of the Single Ladies Are Pushing America Over the Leftist Cliff, published originally March 10th, 2016. Single momhood is up, the marriage rate is down, the age of first marriage is up, and the divorce industrial complex provides incentives to women to shatter their marriages that would have survived similar rough patches not too long ago. What does this distressed state of frayed affairs portend for America? How about a rapid and continual shift in the electorate towards leftism and its attendant social ills? And there's a quote here from the link he shared below. Quote, "Why have women become left-wing? The political gender gap and the decline in marriage. The last 3 decades have witnessed the rise of a political gender gap in the United States, wherein more women than men favor the Democratic Party. We trace this development to the decline in marriage, which we posit has made men richer and women poorer." Heartiste interjects here and says, "This is not necessarily true. Controlled analysis of actual living standards post-divorce support a less financially stable position for men, and the perception of financial gain matters. Women perceive, due to legal incentives, that they will gain more in a divorce." Back to the quote. Data for the United States supports this argument. First, there is a strong positive correlation between state divorce prevalence and the political gender gap. Higher divorce prevalence reduces support for the Democrats among men, but not women. Second, longitudinal data show that following marriage, women are less likely to support the Democratic Party. Unquote. Divorced men don't stop voting Democrat because they are in a better financial position than they were in marriage. Rather, they stop voting Democrat because the Democrat Party supports the whole panoply of anti-male feminist policy preferences that tilt the divorce playing field against men's interests. Burn a divorced man once, shame on him. Burn him twice. The real reason single women, pre-marriage and post-divorce, more strongly support the shitlib party is because they are biologically compelled to seek a male provider and his resources when they are mateless. If no dependable or asset-rich man is available, then single and divorced women, and especially single moms with future juvenile delinquent and roadside stripper mouths to feed, will seek resources from the best available alternative, Big Daddy government. Consequently, as the nation loads up with more sex and the city mimosa-ettes and platitude-quaffing obese single moms of mystery meats, the bigger government will grow to satisfy the demand for the dem welfare programs. And that is how the culture substrate changes absent any widespread genetic changes in the population, which will follow not long after a massive and prolonged culture change. Moral of the science? Female suffrage was a big mistake. So that is the conclusion of the article. There is a lot of good comments here, so I'm going to go ahead and read those as a part of this video, since right now we're only at about 3.5 minutes. Commenter Clemsman says, "That's why the fiscal conservative / social liberal is a schizophrenic position. That's why the social issues matter, which is why the libs focus on them so much and cheer when the Supreme Court gives them what they can't win at the ballot box." Commenter Rip quotes the last line of the article, "The moral of the science, female suffrage was a big mistake," and responds with, "A colossal, monumental, and spectacular mistake." Commenter RT responds to that, saying, "I don't think we can go back the same way we got here. The notion of a return to a Christian patriarchy is pure fantasy, in my opinion. Inevitably, society will return to some kind of patriarchy, but my fear is it will be of the Islamic variety. I also believe immigration won't be the only factor in this. Eventually, some Bosnian or Chechen Muslim will figure out how to pitch Islam to young disillusioned white men as a counter to the collapsing society all around them. This is just my theory, but I do know a lot of angry young whites that outright hate Christianity because the churches sold them out to embrace feminism and importation of browns." Commenter 88 says, women also vote Democrat because the liberal Democrat mentality forgives and almost encourages behaviors that are damaging to society as a whole. Girls without traditional values, who have the mentality of spoiled, immature, and bratty children, and who don't have a sense of morality and responsibility, can't handle anyone judging them and telling them what they are doing is wrong and slutty and immature and responsible. So they pick the party that tells them anything they do is okay and acceptable. Conservatives aren't going to do that. Commenter Name Redacted adds, if the plight of inner city single mothers shows anything, it's that for an easy short-term reward, women will vote themselves into a living hell. But now single mothers are everywhere, and they're remaking the country into a third world hellhole because of their nationwide support of liberal social policies. Turn on the TV, go watch those oldies TV stations like MeTV, and watch the shows. It's probably the closest you're going to get to the America we once had. Commenter The Rebbe adds, this raises the question, why did they choose women's suffrage? The answer is that, at the time, women were viewed as more conservative than men, less likely to drink, more pragmatic, and more family-oriented. Jews were emancipated because they were generally well-liked. 100 years later, they toppled the Tsar. 130 years later, they were being exterminated. 50 years after the serfs liberated, we had the Russian Revolution. How about apartheid South Africa? Civil rights movement? What is it about liberalization that never quite works according to plan? Anglo-Saxon and Germanic men have been self-governing citizens in quasi-democratic and or competent local politics for over 1,000 years. Perhaps this is harder than it looks. Afterthought writes, here's a question that may be elucidated by history. What is the furthest gone a society has been before it self-corrected as opposed to collapsing? Are we past the point where reform is less economical than collapse? I say no, because we can always do the Byzantine option and slice away the corrupted flesh and live in a reduced but more stable society. I do say that if we do not carve away the rot, collapse is inevitable. And for those of you thinking otherwise, collapse isn't, tee-hee, I got my bug-out bag, baby. Collapse will make grown men cry and is not something to be wished for. Commenter The Tingler adds, you all have forgotten the other big reason women vote Democrat. The Dem gender narrative is of female moral superiority. If you look at conservative women on Twitter or elsewhere, you see them frequently arguing against this narrative, for which they should be commended. It's the same reason some Asians vote Democrat. All those stories about internment camps and, coolie railroad labor adds up to an emotionally gratifying narrative of moral superiority. Same reasons Latinos vote Dem. You mean there's a party in the U.S. of white people telling us that white people are morally inferior to us? Sign me up. It's not just about the welfare programs. It's about the moral superiority. So the Tingler goes on to say this. Seriously, the concept of moral superiority is something that we on the right need to discuss more and deconstruct, because frankly, that's really where we're losing the debate. Policies are products of narratives, and the liberal narrative is this. Your ancestors conquered my ancestors, therefore I'm morally superior to you. What an insane non sequitur to build a national policy on. All they've done is taken the old hierarchy and stood it on its head. They have no evidence for why it should stand on its head, only assertions that it's more just if it does. Those assertions are castles in the clouds, and conservatives have to start dismantling them ASAP because this narrative is the justification for replacing us. Commenter B says, I have to disagree with this statement. If no dependable or asset-rich man is available, then single and divorced women, and especially single moms with future juvenile delinquent and roadside stripper mouths to feed, will seek resources from the best available alternative, Big Daddy government. I don't think that's the alternative. It's a goal of this political movement, to have the government strip men of their resources and productivity and deliver it to women who now don't have to deal with a productive man, won't have to put up with him, won't have to return value, won't have to do anything approaching work or effort to maintain a relationship with a man she settles for. Women can indulge themselves without any restraint of practicality when the state will cover them. Women that are attracted to these sorts of politics anyway never wanted the dependable men who produce, who build assets, because most of us aren't exciting. We are just a means to an end as far as they are concerned. They want exciting men first. The problem is, most of the exciting men, to them, are dead fucking broke. They are worthless drifters, felons, or happy-go-lucky lazy types. Irresponsible, not dependable, prone to leave at any moment. The state means the women can have their unreliable, exciting men without the downside. Women don't have to compromise to settle for a productive man when the state will steal what he produces and give it to them. That's what women are being sold. They buy it up too, and of course it's a con. It's society-wrecking con perpetrated by the state, who run it, and those who influence it for their gain. It's a compounding attack on society because productive men stop producing when the state takes everything. When being productive means supporting other men's children and a parasitical elite, what's the point? Colonel Troutman responds, saying, "Awesome synopsis, B." There's also a kind of gamish dynamic that when a man is a producer/provider, he has already either intentionally or unintentionally pedestalized women. His act of becoming a beta provider puts him below a woman right off the bat. The drifter/felon/bad boys, etc., by virtue of doing nothing for women, automatically place themselves higher. Doomed culture. The Tingler responds saying, well, the joke's on women, because the way millennial males are dropping out of society and underachieving in the job market, the primary contributors to the welfare state in another 20 years will be women themselves. Be sure to have your camera ready so you can take a picture of the look on their collective faces when they realize it isn't men paying for their gravy train. Cheer up, boys. In a few short years, it'll be a great time to be a lazy, shiftless man. So that about does it for the comment section today. This has been the Royce Reader with All the Single Ladies Are Pushing America Over the Leftist Cliff. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.